By subscribing to our channel before moving on to our video, you can be instantly informed about the last news and comments. The clashes between Israel and Palestine did not slow down on day 3 either. As tensions between the sides rise, other countries are striving to calm the events, while many of them are not neutral and prefer to support either side of the conflict explicitly or implicitly. As you know, we will transfer all the information obtained from all sources in this video, as in the previous videos. Hamas has started a heavy rain of rockets on Israel, and the Israeli army has entered the cities, and we will examine the details about that in a moment. Violent air strikes from Israel to Gaza and rocket attacks from Gaza, which managed to hit the Israelite, continued today. A statement about the conflicts came from the USA, Germany, Russia, Iran and Turkey. The Turkish president discussed the conflicts with the Russian president, while the US foreign minister discussed the conflicts with Israel. There is also an allegation that the Russian Foreign Office, which contacted Hamas, told the Hamas that under certain conditions, the conflict could be halted. Let's start to examine all the latest developments in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict together. According to the latest information, more than 1050 rockets were fired from Gaza to Israel. Senior Hamas official. The situation will get more and more serious in the coming hours. After saying a series of attacks were carried out during the daylight hours. The Iron Dome air defense system is insufficient to block all successive missiles. After the Palestinian Islamic Jihad organization said wait for 2100, the rocket attacks that had been going on for 3 evenings resumed. Intense rocket attacks are carried out from Gaza, especially in Ashdod and Ashkelon in Israel. Shelters were opened in Ashkelon, Israel. It is stated that the Iron Dome air defense system, which experienced a technical failure yesterday, was reactivated today at 6 o'clock. The Al-Sharak Tower in Gaza was bombed and destroyed by Israeli warplanes. The image of the moment of the explosion. The IDF published a video showing Maglin's squad striking Hamas infrastructure. The Israel Defense Forces are publishing new footage of attacks on militant targets in the Gaza Strip, including the locations of high-ranking officials from Hamas and Islamic Jihad. IDF. Air Force fighter jets recently attacked a 14-story building, which housed an organization's military intelligence offices. Hamas, as well as communications infrastructure used to convey tactical military messages by terrorist organizations. Israeli Defense Minister Gantz. We will not take moral sermons from any country or person, with all options on the table. Al-Qassam brigades. If Israel continues the attacks on Gaza, we will destroy the government buildings in the Kiryat region, including the Israeli Ministry of Defense. After this statement, sirens started to rise again in Tel Aviv during the daytime. In response to Israel's attack, the Qassam brigades launched a new missile wave. Tel Aviv is being targeted with 130 missiles. A 6-year-old child died when a rocket fired from Gaza hit a building in Ashkelon. A 6-year-old boy is dead, his mother severely injured after a rocket fired by Hamas hit a home in Darrow, southern Israel moments ago. Al-Qassam brigades released new images of missile firing from Gaza yesterday to different points in Israel, especially Tel Aviv. The Qassam brigades announced that they launched a missile attack with 15 rockets in the morning hours on the town of Dimona, where Israel's main nuclear reactor is located. In addition, Ashdod port was hit by missiles in the morning hours. Areas where sirens were activated after rockets fired from Gaza. Netanyahu. We will inflict unimaginable blows to Hamas. This is just the beginning. Israeli artillery batteries hit Gaza. The Israeli cabinet meeting is over, and it is said that the war will continue for a while. Israeli military leaders say, there may be rockets falling all over Israel, where the war will continue, and be prepared for this. According to JP News Agency, the senior official said that Hamas is ready to stop the attacks, mutually. A senior Hamas official said the Islamist group was ready to halt attacks against Israel on a mutual basis, the Russian Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday. It also quoted the Hamas official as telling a Russian deputy foreign minister that the international community should press Israel to stop using force at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque. Rocket fire started from Gaza to Israel. The missile capacity of the resistance groups is estimated at 13,000, so they can do 13 times more than yesterday's attack. Each attack they make will be more devastating than the previous one, which is another case. In Israel, Ashkelon, the streets are like a battlefield, the people are in panic. Israel closes gas field on the country's north coast for precautionary purposes. Read more in the Israeli town of Lod. Jews besieged the mosque after Arabs took refuge in the mosque. A curfew was declared in Lod City from 2000 to 4 o'clock. The Israeli army enters the city of Lod, Lid. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu receives operational updates from the Chief of Staff and the Commander of the Air Force in the Air Force's control and attack cell. In Israel today, footage showing the moment when an IDF military vehicle's anti-tank missile hit the border in the Gaza Strip at noon. At this point, it is reported that 2 people died as a result of the attack. In Tel Aviv and many other cities, Jews attack Arabs they see on the street. Clashes broke out between Palestinian protesters and Israeli police in Bat Yam, Israel. The Israeli army raids the homes of Arabs in East Jerusalem and conducts detentions. Palestinian Ministry of Health. The number of deaths in Israeli attacks rose to 43 and the number of injured to 296. Iranian Foreign Ministry visited Bashar Assad in Damascus. Iran has announced that its aid to groups in Palestine will increase. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken said they will send diplomats to the Middle East to call on Israel and Palestinians to end the violence. Hadi Amr, Deputy Secretary for Israel-Palestinian Affairs at the Foreign Ministry, will visit Israel as soon as possible. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu had a phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Blinken. Netanyahu thanked Blinken for saying, "Israel has the right to self-defense." Israel statement from Russian Foreign Minister Assistant, stating that Israel's attempts to change the status of Jerusalem were unlawful. Sergei Vershinin emphasized that the resettlement activities carried out in the occupied Palestinian territories should be stopped immediately. U.S. Secretary of Defense Austin spoke over the phone with his Israeli counterpart, Gantz. Austin conveyed the U.S. absolute support for Israel's right to self-defense, ignoring Israel's massacre of Palestinian civilians. White House spokesperson Psaki. As White House officials, we made 25 phone calls recently to calm the situation in Israel. We met with countries including Qatar, Egypt and Tunisia. According to diplomatic sources, the United States blocked a joint statement after the UN Security Council meeting, which discussed the escalating tensions between Israel and Palestine. Turkish President Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a meeting on the conflicts between Israel and Palestine. Deutsche Welle includes the following information about the meeting. According to the Kremlin, both leaders called on the sides to lower tensions. Erdogan also said that Israel must be given a deterrent lesson. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a telephone conversation about the conflict between Israel and Palestinians. In the statement made by the Kremlin, it was stated at the meeting that there is serious concern about both the ongoing conflicts and the increasing number of dead and wounded. The Kremlin reported that both leaders called on the parties to lower the tension and to resolve the problems peacefully. The Presidency of Turkey Directorate of Communications also released a statement regarding the content of the meeting. In the statement, President Erdogan's meeting with Putin, stating that they expressed their reaction as Turkey in the harshest way against Israel's reckless attacks on Jerusalem, Gaza, Masjid al-Aqsa and Palestinians. The international community is also a powerful and deterrent lesson to Israel. He stated that they should give and continue their initiatives at all levels for this purpose. Emphasizing that the Russian Foreign Ministry's statement pointing to the United Nations, UN, parameters and a two-state solution on the Palestine issue is important, President Erdogan stated that the demonstration that Turkey and Russia agree on the developments in Jerusalem constitutes an important message. According to the statement, President Erdogan emphasized that it is important for the United Nations Security Council to get involved in the issue before the crisis grows further and that the Council should give decisive and clear messages to Israel to stop the attacks. Stating that the idea of sending international protection forces to the region to protect Palestinian civilians should also be worked on, President Erdogan expressed his belief that Turkey and Russia will cooperate closely in the UN on all these issues. The latest information from the Israeli press is as follows. At 9:21 p.m., Ashkelon residents told them to stay in shelters until further instructions. Ashkelon residents were told to enter shelters immediately and remain there until further notice. They were also told not to move around the city or be in an open area. At 9:02 p.m., the second consecutive rocket volley was launched from Gaza in the south of Israel. At 8:57 p.m., sirens sound in Ashdod, Ashkelon and southern Israel communities. At 8:16 p.m. 2 rockets landed on Netivot, no injuries or damage. Important developments have been like this for now. We will continue to inform you when there are new developments. By liking our video, you can make it reach a much wider audience, and you can get detailed comments about other important agendas in the world by examining other videos on our channel.